G'day there guys, I just found out that my wife is my cousin and I can't accept reality. What am I going to do about this situation? It's Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Now if that was crazy, just wait till you hear some of these stories. Sit back, relax and enjoy, I think you'll love it. Posted by user ThrowRA Dating Friend. Titled, Should I, 27 male, tell my friend, 25 male, that I didn't realize we were dating? I know it probably sounds bad, but hear me out. In my head, it's a long story, but I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. Sorry if it sounds choppy. Also, English isn't my first language. Last year, I had to move in with my parents because I was having a hard time finding a new place to rent after a really bad breakup. My parents and I don't get along great for a lot of reasons, and it made everything a lot worse. So to get out of that, I eventually decided to apply for some jobs in other places. At the time, I didn't really want to, since I'd lived in that city my whole life and I liked my job. But I couldn't just stay with my parents anymore. I found a job pretty quickly because this hotel was reopening after changing owners, and they weren't finding staff easily. So I ended up moving here in October. In the beginning, I wasn't socializing much because it's really hard to find friends here when everyone already knows everyone. My country and region are doing well. No confirmed cases in town yet, but it definitely didn't help with making friends. I've also been pretty busy because I decided to buy a house. It just kinda happened because my boss knew the previous owners, and it was super cheap since it needed a lot of work. But it definitely made this move feel very permanent. Then in May, this guy, let's call him Eric, and I got stuck in the social distancing queue outside the pharmacy together, and we started talking. I told him I was new, and he invited me to a barbecue with his friends. Not gonna lie, I'm not great with new people, but they made me feel welcome, and were all very nice. After that, we just kept hanging out. Mostly me and Derek, which I thought was because he was quite careful during these times, and only saw his big group of friends outside. Plus, we were the only two who weren't in a relationship or had kids, so it made sense in my head that we were alone a lot. I would cook him dinner and lunch, as I'm a chef, and he would show me great hiking places and help out a lot with renovations on the house. I also started telling him about the breakup and stuff, and even though I feel like I've moved on, it was still nice that he was so understanding. Like, I always thought that it sounded so cheesy when people talked about knowing, like, a week into a friendship or relationship that it was going to be different, but that's the only way I can describe what it's felt like. I promise now that I'm writing it down, it's so obvious, but I honestly didn't think much of it since I've never dated a guy before. Then like 2 to 3 weeks ago, he called and asked if I wanted to have dinner on my next night off, and also said, just you and me. He seemed kinda weird and formal, but I assumed it was just something else going on, and just said yes. To which he responded, it's a date then. And I assumed he meant it as a jokey line, because I have friends who have in the past. He picked this restaurant in another town that was relatively fancy that I'd never been to, and I drove him home afterwards, and he told me good night and that he'd had a great time. Usually we're not that formal with each other, but we weren't really acting that different during dinner, so again, I didn't think much of it. Then over the next week or so, he started sending hearts in texts, and would call me some pet names here and there, which is the first thing that stood out to me a lot. Then earlier this week, he grabbed my hand while we were out during his lunch break, and that's when it finally clicked. It really caught me by surprise, and I didn't know how to react, so I tried to play it cool and go along with it. Then yesterday, he texted and asked if he was still on for our movie night on Sunday, and I just said, yeah, of course. And I'm starting to panic a bit. I grew up pretty conservative, and I guess I didn't question my sexuality a lot, even when I got to university and a lot of other people were. I've always been awkward when it comes to that stuff, and I never really made the first move with any of the girls I've dated. But I've been thinking about it for the last few days, and I've realized I really, really like him, and all the stuff he's done never made me uncomfortable. Quite the opposite, actually. He's cute, definitely what I would have said is my type, but like a guy version, and it feels different than any other friendship I've ever had. Like, again, looking back, I definitely haven't been acting super platonic with him, and we've gotten close really fast. And if I'm being honest, if he'd been a girl, I would have also assumed that that's where this was going. I guess my issue is, should I tell him next time I see him that I didn't realize we were dating? Should I wait? Does he need to know? I don't want him to feel embarrassed that he assumed or think that I'm using him to figure myself out, but I also don't want to lie. I genuinely want to see where this goes since he makes me really happy. Well, I don't know if you have to out the fact that you were too naive to realize what was happening. That would embarrass the hell out of me, lol. But it's probably a good idea that you let him know that you have no previous experience with men. I think you would do well to look up the term demisexual. It's being attracted to personalities, not aesthetics or other obvious characteristics. Your experience sounds exactly like the start of every relationship I've ever been in. You were just hanging out platonically with a friend or coworker, and then one day it just hits you that you've caught feelings. The first time it happened with another woman for me was super eye-opening. Like, I was very open-minded and had a bunch of LGBTQ friends, but had never been attracted to a woman before. Kind of changed my orientation to bisexual for a while. Only learned about demisexuality within the last few years, and I feel like I finally have a label that fits. But F labels. Love who you want. And OP says, thanks. I'll definitely look that up because it kinda sounds like what I've felt before as well. Work kept me kinda busy yesterday, so I didn't have a lot of time to think about it too much. But I'm gonna look some stuff up before we see each other tonight. Really appreciate it. I would let him know that he's the first guy you've dated so that he doesn't take any hesitancy personally, that you're exploring your sexuality. Some people don't want to mess with that experimentation. Yeah, and I totally get that. A female friend of mine is bisexual, and I know she's been in situations where someone has used her and wanted to keep her a secret to experiment. So I want to make sure he knows that that's not what I want this to be. Like, if it ends up being something official, then I'm gonna treat it like I have my other relationships, you know? I love this so much because what you're struggling with isn't the idea of dating a man, but really it's that you care about his feelings being hurt or him feeling used. You sound like a swell human, and I hope your relationship and friendship continues to make you happy. If it feels right, then simply say what you've said here in a different way. Explain that last paragraph to him, and say that you want to take things slow because of those reasons. Best wishes, mate. And OP says, thanks, I'm gonna try my best. Updates to, should I tell my friend that I didn't realize we were dating? So we had our dinner and movie night yesterday, and I was very nervous. Mostly because I was scared that how new it was to me was going to be a deal breaker. But Eric came over, and I think he instantly realized I was acting weird. He didn't say anything while he was helping me cook, but then we sat down to eat, and he almost immediately asked what was up. So I basically said something like, I really like you, and I want to see where this goes, but I want you to know that it's very new to me, and I'm not sure if you're cool with that. And he asked what exactly was new to me, and I said I'd only dated girls before. Which then led to a conversation where I couldn't avoid telling him that I didn't realize we were dating until that lunch. He actually got really quiet for a few seconds after that, and I was scared he was upset, but then he just laughed. Basically, he thought I'd been flirting with him for quite some time. Looking back, I probably was, just not intentionally. And all his friends had been saying like, he seems so into you, it's really obvious. He's probably just too shy to make the first move. He even mentioned some other stuff we or I had done that, I gotta admit, definitely doesn't sound platonic when he retells it. So I can see why they thought that, and ultimately they were right, I guess. And during that lunch, he'd apparently thought I was reaching to grab his hand, so he reached out too. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have done it, because he said that he's never been good at making the first move physically. He said when he asked me to dinner, that was a huge deal, and his friends had tried to hype him up for a while, and that's probably why I didn't realize that he was asking me out, since he was super nervous. Anyway, we ended up talking a lot after dinner. He didn't come out publicly, aside from a few close friends, until a year or so ago either, So he definitely understood that I don't have a lot of experience. He hasn't had a lot of relationships in general, at least not any proper and public ones, since he hadn't come out and it's a pretty conservative area, so there aren't a lot of guys who are out of the closet here. He actually admitted that he'd been nervous to talk to me that first time we met, since I looked kind of lumberjacky, his words, not mine. Though the day we met, I think I hadn't shaved in a while, so I don't doubt it. And he also knows rumors travel fast here, especially when someone doesn't really fit in. So I guess he was worried that I'd fit the small-town conservative type or have heard all the gossip. The whole "it's a date" thing, for example, would never have happened between two guys who were just friends here. I've definitely noticed the culture, and it's something we talked about too, since being out here isn't always easy. So we might try to keep it low-key at first, and mostly tell his friends and some of mine. I could probably ramble on and on about him and what we talked about for a long time, but to keep it short, it was a really nice talk, and we wanted to take it slow, but we also realized we've basically been half-dating since May, so it felt weird not to make it official. So I guess I've got a boyfriend now. Thanks, guys. Edit. I really didn't expect this to get as much attention as it did, but I truly appreciate all the kind words, and I'm really happy that you found some joy in this story that just started with me being oblivious and confused. I might actually have to show this to Eric, because all the support is making me really emotional over here. Edit 3. Okay, last update before I log out. I'm very overwhelmed in a lot of different ways, and I think it's best for my anxiety to exit this now. I know it sounds silly since I posted on here asking for comments, but I'm just not good at getting attention, and I didn't expect more than a handful of helpful comments, since that's what I usually get on my main account when I ask about renovations. I guess I should have been prepared for the small chance that a lot of people saw this, but after my original post got about 10 or so comments, I didn't think much of it when posting the update. I looked through some of the comments and messages though, and I wanted to answer some of the main questions at least. Some people asked where I lived and how it could be so conservative. It's just a small town culture that I can't quite explain. Everyone knows everyone, false rumors spread easily, and there are some people who are known to cause trouble who grew up here and think they own the place. On top of that, just the general attitude towards everything is very old-fashioned. It's not hard to avoid, but still worrying. And I know this might sound very love story or movie-like, but in reality, it's just me realizing that I like someone and wanting to start a relationship with him. My life isn't very exciting and I prefer it that way, which is why I'm very happy I made this throwaway account so I can go back to my regular stuff. And while this is making me quite anxious, I don't regret posting it. Reading other people's stories has been very emotional, and I wish I could handle going through all of them, but I don't think that would be good for me right now. Just know I appreciate all the advice and love. I didn't want to bring this up because it seemed irrelevant, but after my last breakup, I was probably at my absolute lowest point, and I never expected that I would get to a place where I'm feeling this hopeful. At least not this fast. So again, thank you so much, and maybe I'll update this in the future if something happens. But right now, I'm happy to leave it at this. I'm saving this story. You met in a queue at the pharmacy, became best friends, and accidentally started dating. This is the stuff of rom-com dreams we modern-day mortals dream of. A real-life meet-cute in this day and age is practically unheard of. And his reaction to laugh and not be upset just shows how great a guy he is. This is a perfect update to a perfect post. I seriously wish more posts here were like this. And OP says, I had to Google what a meet-cute was. Maybe the name should have given it away, but I've already proven I'm not the smartest. And yeah, that sounds about right, I think. And he's definitely a great guy, and I'm very lucky. You are amazing. Have a great life. Posted by user ThoreauRA9067. Titled, Would I, 38 female, be an idiot if I got back together with my ex-husband, 37 male, who cheated on me 10 years ago? My ex, who we'll call Mike, and I were together since we were 14 and got married at 22. We have 2 kids together, 15 female and 11 male. My ex's work takes him all over the country for a week every quarter. In one of those trips, he hooked up with one of his co-workers. I never thought he could do something like that because our relationship was really solid. He confessed immediately after he got home. I actually would have never found out if he didn't. He begged me for forgiveness, said that he still loved me, and it was a lapse in judgment, but said that he would understand if I wanted a divorce, which is what eventually happened. It was very amicable, and he actually gave me more than I expected. House, child support, alimony. It was a slow process, but over the years we became friends again and have a good co-parenting dynamic. Mike's a great father, and the kids still love him. I got married 3 years after, and he was actually very supportive. I divorced my second husband 2 years ago because he changed his mind on kids. I want one last baby. Since the lockdown, Mike has been over frequently. At this point, our relationship is so good, we don't need to enforce any of the set visits and such. Well, things have been getting hot between us for the last few months, and we started having sex. I'm a woman with needs too, and to be very honest with you guys, he's still the best guy I've been with after all these years. It's like our bodies were made for each other. He's always joked that we were like prime Pippin and Jordan in bed, and when he said that again, it felt like we were back 10 years ago when we were still together. It was supposed to be just physical, but here we are. Just a few hours ago, he brought up the idea of us getting back together. He gave me the most genuine speech about how stupid he was the night he cheated, and how he never stopped loving me in the last 10 years. I was speechless and couldn't say anything, so he just gave me his usual teethy smile and said, "It's okay, I'll wait," before driving home. Now I'm lying here in bed typing this out. I'd be lying to you guys if I said I didn't love him. I'd be lying if I said the last few months weren't the happiest I've been in years. And I would be lying if I said I never forgave him for cheating. I've told him years ago that I already did. If I had to decide right now, I'd jump out of bed and drive to his house and bring him home. It's taking all my willpower not to do so. I love him. However, I also want to think with my brain here. Pros of taking him back? He's a great dad, and the kids would have him around more. He's a great provider, and he says he still wants kids, and I still love him. Cons? I don't know yet, but maybe some of you can help me with that. Any advice on how I should proceed? Edit, I made the first move when we started sleeping together. He made a big mistake and has spent 10 years paying for it. The main question you need to ask yourself is whether or not that's enough. You are the only one who can answer that. It sounds like you trust him not to cheat again and that you want him back in your and your kids' lives. So, can you put it behind you and move forward and not have his affair be a constant dark cloud hanging over the relationship? That's not something you should answer late at night in the middle of a rush of emotions. It's something you need to have an honest and open discussion with him about. Not trying to spare his feelings or be a nice person, but based on what you feel deep in your gut. It would probably be best to have that discussion in a marriage counselor's office and have a professional help both of you walk through your feelings and the situation. Usually I'm hard against cheaters, but this guy gets an exception. 1. He admitted to you. That speaks volumes to the type of man he is. He loves you that much that even if it hurt you at the time, he still was going to be honest. And 2, as a man, when we want one woman, and we put it all on the line like that, chances are we are ready to settle with her. This guy said he'd wait. That crap was like stuff you only see on the movies. That's love. Shout out to that man. Also, they were together from 14. Unfortunately, cheating often happens in relationships like that purely out of immaturity and curiosity. If you've never known anyone else in a carnal way, and you've been drinking, even the most loyal mate could be tempted. I seem to have an eye for cheaters, as in I love to let them hurt me. And the habitual cheaters always find a way to make you to blame and insist you move on before fully healed. It seems the ex has not only let OP process everything and move on, he has given her a decade to do so. We only get one life. Spend it with who you love. What do you think would be best for your children and for you? If you ask me right now, taking him back. Quite frankly, I have half a mind to just drive to his place right now in the middle of the night to get him. Definitely don't do that. That's very impulsive and potentially reckless. You really have to put your family first. If you really want to pursue this, you should really take it slow. Like, this guy just told you that speech hours ago. Rushing things with him or anyone isn't a good idea. Doesn't matter how good the sex is or how chill he is with his own kids. That's like minimum expectations, to be honest. The fact that you can't think of a single negative thing shows to me that you are not thinking about this objectively. Whenever we are smitten by someone, we ignore any potential red flags or negatives with them. Even something like, this guy always forgets to clean his dishes, for example. It may not be something super serious, but it's not a positive quality. It's about looking at the entire person, warts and all. To be honestly, OP, it really sounds like you are in the lustful throes of a new relationship. Regardless of whatever happened in the past, you guys are in the infatuation stage again where you boink like rabbits, and you're willing to throw any caution to the wind for him. Right now with the pandemic, everyone is feeling lonely, and having a warm body is nice. He's being extra great with the kids, and your relationship is fantastic because you haven't even considered the alternative. To be honest, if I were you, I would pretty much put a lot of stipulations on getting back together. Like, for example, marriage therapy. You only seem to say that he said he made a mistake, but you never address any other factors. Was he unhappy at the time? Was the stress of homework and travel getting to him? Also, bear in mind, he likely can't travel right now due to the pandemic. What will happen when the humping like horny teens wears off? He's working all the time and traveling, and you pop out your third baby, which requires all of your attention. Yes, it could be that he did make a mistake, but you did divorce. He had to give up his house and kids, and now pays buku bucks to you. How is it not in his favor to get back with you? I really hope that you think this through. As great as things are now, after 2 divorces, you should know that relationships don't always stay how they are in the beginning, and that you should take things slow to avoid your life and your kids getting upheavaled yet another time. Update: would I be an idiot if I got back together with my ex-husband who cheated on me 10 years ago? It's been a few days now since I've posted, and Reddit has given me some solid advice, especially the kind Redditors who messaged me directly. I'm very grateful for this because it helped me calm down and not give in to my impulses. The morning after I posted, I texted Mike saying that I needed time and space to think about everything. He then replied with, "I've waited 10 years. I can wait a bit longer." My heart melted. When the kids woke up, our son was looking for his dad. He's at the age now where he pretty much idolized his dad. I get why though. Mike is an amazing dad. Our daughter gave me the stink eye all morning. After lunch, when our son was in his room playing video games, my daughter confronted me about Mike. She basically said that she knew there was something going on. Guess we're not that sneaky, and that she didn't want our fighting to affect their lives. She thought we were fighting. Now, the divorce affected her, but not as badly as expected. We made sure to get her counseling immediately after, and made extra sure her life was as normal as possible. I'm not going to delude myself and think she wasn't hurt by it, but I'm pretty confident in saying we dealt with it pretty well, or as well as we could. I then had the conversation about how we weren't fighting, but quite the opposite. We were thinking about getting back together. She thought about it for a while and said she was happy for us and hoped it was forever this time. The next day, I dropped my kids off at my parents' house so I could talk to Mike at his place. We had a long talk about how we felt about each other, what we planned to do about it going forward, and as many of you suggested, what he planned to do next time we hit a rough patch, especially since we plan on having a third kid. He told me that the night he cheated still haunted him 10 years later. He told me how it wasn't worth it one bit, and how it was the biggest mistake of his life. He said that if we ever hit a rough patch again, we would talk about it like adults. He even suggested we do couples counseling every now and then, even when times are good. I liked this idea. There are some details about our conversation that I want to keep private, but long story short, we got back together. We are going to take it slow in every step we take. We both agreed that our children would take priority over everything. He's not going to move in yet, but he would spend a few nights a week at home with us. Later that night, we sat the kids down and broke the news. Daughter didn't say much because she already knew, but our son was over the moon. Since we divorced when he was a baby, the concept of both his parents being together was quite new to him. They obviously asked questions, and we answered them. We are also planning on doing family counseling to help make the transition easier for everybody. Overall, I'm really happy right now. Mike made a mistake 10 years ago, but I don't hold it against him and have completely forgiven him for it. I know he loves me now and won't cheat on me anymore. I'm back together now with the love of my life and father of my kids, and I couldn't be happier. As I type this out, Mike is in the next room playing video games with our son. I'm not entirely sure what the future will look like, but I'm happy that he's back. Thank you, Reddit, for the advice. It really helped with our talk and how we proceed going forward. I think I'll stay online for an hour or so to reply till the kids are asleep and he comes to bed and it's my turn to have fun. Peace. It's great to see Mike has grown and that you could be so forgiving. My dad cheated and never came back. His choice. So your son will be lucky to have someone to show him how to shave properly. Stay well and may your love always grow. It wasn't easy, but I could see how genuinely remorseful he was, because he was always so loving towards me even when he knew it was all over. Seeing how great he truly is through the years did help though. And yeah, our son will definitely benefit from having him around more often, especially with puberty just around the corner. My ex was very hands-off, so they never truly bonded. I have an uncle whose wife divorced him due to infidelity. He basically did the same things your husband did. Gave her everything in the divorce, was as amicable and cooperative as possible when it came to sharing custody of their daughter, and made it clear that he had absolutely no interest in any other women. 5 years down the road, they remarried in a small backyard ceremony and remained married until her death due to cancer. Sometimes, cheaters actually do learn and grow. It's not the norm, but it does happen. If you believe there is a real chance that your ex is one such person, and if you believe that you have it in you to get past any lingering anger and resentment so that you can build a true partnership again, then why not give it a shot? Take your time, take him up on the offer to do counseling, and see where things go. Great update. I hope everything works out. I also love the fact that not once did you concern yourself with what your friends or family would think. You only cared about the people whose opinions actually mattered. Yeah, the only opinions that matter are mine and the kids. I'm not entirely sure how my parents or anyone else would feel about this, but they don't really know Mike like I do. Sounds like a typical dumb girl response, I know. No, it isn't. Sometimes friends and family will continue to hold on to the past and not forgive, and as a result, they don't look at the situation rationally or with the best interest of the kids in mind. I'm happy for you and the kids. Just remember to take time to rebuild the foundation of your new relationship with love, honesty, trust, and communication. Hope for happiness and success for all you in this new relationship. Alright, that's where I think I'm going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I really do hope you learned something or just really enjoyed the posts that were put up today. Quick shout out to all my new and existing Patreon and channel members. You should be able to see your name on screen right now, and if you don't, then I don't think you're part of the club, and you really should join the club because it's a great club. And I want to thank every single one of you guys for supporting me in this journey. It really means so much to me, and I love you all so much for it. Thank you for helping me out. As you can tell, I'm now happy and healthy back in Australia. Thank God it's not cold like Ireland. I don't like wearing jumpers everywhere. I prefer the heat. Thank you very much. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Anyway, guys, I really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you later. Bye.